Have you ever felt like something was off, but you couldn't quite put your finger on it? As if your thoughts weren't entirely your own? Like your choices, big or small, weren't born from your will, but were subtly planted, encouraged, nudged by something or someone unseen? Maybe you've said yes when you wanted to say no, stayed silent when you had every reason to speak, helped someone who didn't deserve your help, trusted someone who later made you regret it. If any of this sounds familiar, then this message is for you, because the truth is hard, but here it is. You are being manipulated every single day by people you care about, by institutions you trust, by media you consume, by strangers with well-honed psychological tools. And no, they don't need magic, hypnosis, or sinister music playing in the background. The most dangerous manipulation doesn't look like coercion. It feels like choice. In this video, I will not offer you comfort. I'm not here to reassure you that you're immune. I'm here to pull back the curtain, to show you the architecture of influence, the psychological gears that turn beneath the surface of your life. You'll walk away with tools, not just awareness, but strategy. Because if you don't understand how people shape your behavior, you will continue living a life scripted by others. Let's begin. The illusion of autonomy. Most people think they're in charge of their own lives, that their decisions are theirs, that they act on reason and conviction. But here's the first uncomfortable truth. Most of our actions are driven not by logic, but by emotion, and more importantly, by the unexamined emotional needs we carry from the past. We want to believe in free will, in autonomy. But autonomy requires self-awareness. Without that awareness, we are not making decisions. We are simply reacting. Imagine a person named Jordan. Jordan always says yes to helping coworkers, even when they're overwhelmed. They stay late at the office, take on others' responsibilities, and silently swallow their frustration. Why? Because Jordan was raised in a home where saying no was seen as disrespectful. They learned that approval came with obedience. So today, even in adulthood, that programming runs their life. The manipulator doesn't need to force Jordan's hand. They just need to praise them a little, guilt them a bit, or hint that their help is expected. Jordan folds, not out of logic, but out of emotional reflex. And we all have a little Jordan in us. Now imagine you're in a grocery store. Someone cuts in line. You feel wronged, but you hesitate to speak. Why? Because deep down, you fear confrontation. You were taught to keep the peace. You let it go. But this isn't grace. It's programming. And every unspoken moment like this becomes a tiny surrender. The subtle art of control manipulation doesn't usually scream. It whispers. It comes in the form of flattery, concern, empathy. It hides behind politeness, behind tradition, behind loyalty. And the manipulator? They don't look like villains. Often, they are charismatic, soft-spoken, seemingly wise. A skilled manipulator doesn't push. They invite. They let you convince yourself. Take Claire. She's in a relationship with someone who constantly hints that no one else would understand her the way he does, that other people don't get her like he does, that he's the only one who truly sees her. At first, this makes Claire feel special, cherished, but over time, it isolates her. She stops opening up to friends, stops expressing doubt, and when she finally questions the relationship, her partner says, "I just want what's best for you. Why are you being so distant?" Claire begins to doubt herself. Her partner never shouted, never demanded, but he used subtle emotional framing to create dependency. That's control. And this strategy is common in work environments too. Picture a boss who praises you publicly, then privately criticizes every small mistake. Over time, you become reliant on their approval. They make you feel indispensable and inadequate at the same time. And you keep striving for balance that never comes. Now let's go deeper. Sometimes manipulation doesn't come from a person. It comes from a system, from advertising, from the algorithms on your phone. Think about the push notifications that create urgency, the limited time offers, the content that triggers insecurity just before selling you a solution. It's strategic, psychological, and constant. The emotional leverage manipulation begins and ends with emotional leverage. Your feelings are the map, and manipulators know how to read it. Let's say you're someone who fears being seen as selfish. You go out of your way to help people. You overextend, sacrifice sleep, time, money. And when someone hints that you're not being supportive, you bend over backward to prove them wrong. You've just given them the blueprint. Now imagine a friend who frequently needs emotional support. They only call when something's wrong. You cancel plans to be there. They rarely ask how you are, but always expect your attention. When you don't respond right away, they send a message. Wow. I guess I was right about people always leaving. What do you feel? Guilt, pressure, the compulsion to fix. That's emotional leverage at work. Even in digital spaces, this leverage exists. Think of influencers or public figures who push fear-driven content. If you don't act now, you're missing out. Only the unaware people ignore this warning. It's not just urgency, it's manipulation packaged as awareness. The manipulator might not even know they're manipulating, but they've discovered what buttons to press to get what they want, and they will keep pressing them. In romantic relationships, this is often disguised as love. If you really cared, you'd prove it. You don't understand how much I need you. These statements use vulnerability as a weapon. Love, at its core, should be liberating. But when used as emotional currency, it becomes a cage. The hidden scripts of childhood. Why do we fall into these patterns? Because they feel familiar. Many of us were raised in environments where love was conditional, where being good meant being quiet, where pleasing others earned praise and defiance earned shame. Think about Marcus. As a child, he only received affection when he achieved something, a good grade, a sports trophy, a compliment from a teacher. So Marcus grew up associating worth with performance. Now, in adulthood, Marcus works tirelessly. He cannot sit still. He needs constant affirmation. He ties his self-worth to productivity. And when his boss subtly suggests that he's falling behind, Marcus cancels his weekend plans, burns out, and still feels guilty for not doing more. This isn't just hard work. It's emotional manipulation riding on childhood conditioning. We have to ask, are our current reactions shaped by present logic or old emotional wounds? Add to this the scripts we inherit from our culture. Some societies push self-sacrifice as moral duty. In others, obedience is equated with love. In either case, manipulators have a cultural script ready to use. They simply need to remind you of the roles you were trained to play. This is why healing is not just self-care. It's self-liberation. It's reprogramming the way you were taught to love, to serve, to exist. The everyday theater manipulation is not always malicious. Sometimes it's habitual, cultural, almost invisible. Let's take the workplace again. Meet Priya, a bright, creative woman in a competitive firm. Her boss frequently compliments her ideas, then takes credit in meetings. He asks her to collaborate on tasks. But when deadlines loom, the responsibility is hers alone. When Priya speaks up, she's told she's not being a team player, that she's lucky to be learning from someone with experience. The manipulation is wrapped in mentorship, in culture, in the language of opportunity. But it's exploitation. Or consider family. A parent says to their adult child, "After all I've done for you, you can't even visit once a week." On the surface, it's love, but underneath is guilt, control, the idea that love must be earned through obedience. These moments feel small, insignificant. But together, they script your life. Even in friend groups, this dynamic can emerge. Suppose a group of friends always jokes about your insecurities. You laugh along, but each jab stings. When you object, they say, "Don't be so sensitive." That's not humor. That's boundary testing disguised as fun. These are the roles we perform. Scripts written long ago and often rehearsed so well, we don't even realize we're acting. The awakening to the game. Here's the shift. Once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. Once you recognize manipulation, you begin to take your power back. But that requires radical honesty, brutal clarity, the willingness to look at yourself, not just at others. Ask yourself, what emotional needs dominate my decisions? What do I avoid feeling at all costs? Who benefits from my silence, my guilt, my fear? Who reacts negatively when I set a boundary? What relationships drain me instead of feeding me? This awakening isn't easy, it's painful. Because sometimes you realize that people you care about have been shaping your actions for their benefit, not yours. But the pain is worth it. Because clarity is power, and power is the beginning of choice. Building emotional immunity. How do you protect yourself? Not by becoming cold, not by becoming suspicious of everyone, but by becoming aware. Step 1. Observe your patterns. What do you say yes to when you want to say no? When do you smile to avoid conflict? Who makes you doubt your own memory or feelings? Imagine keeping a journal for just 1 week. Write down the moments you felt obligated, pressured, or emotionally drained. At the end of the week, patterns will emerge. Maybe a coworker asks for favors that interrupt your workflow. Maybe a friend only calls when they need something. Maybe a parent uses guilt to keep you from making your own choices. These patterns are your roadmap to freedom. Step 2. Develop emotional boundaries. This means pausing before reacting, creating space between stimulus and response, noticing your triggers, and choosing your behavior consciously. Boundaries aren't walls to keep people out. They're filters to let the right behavior in. Let's say someone asks you to do something you're not comfortable with. Instead of giving an automatic yes, say, "Let me think about that." That phrase alone creates space. That space creates power. Step 3. Break predictability. Manipulators rely on your consistency. Change the script. Say no. Ask questions. Be still when they expect reaction. This forces authenticity into the dynamic and reveals intent. Let's return to Jordan. One day, instead of agreeing to stay late, Jordan simply says, "I'm not available tonight." No excuse, no apology. The manager is surprised. The manipulation is exposed. A shift begins. Jordan feels anxious, but also liberated. Step 4. Rebuild your identity. Not the mask you wear, the real you. The one who doesn't need to be liked to feel worthy. The one who can sit with discomfort without rushing to fix it. The one who can walk away when respect is missing. This version of you may feel unfamiliar. That's okay. You're not creating a new self. You're uncovering the one that's always been there. Step 5. Practice. This isn't a one-time awakening. It's daily work. It's choosing integrity over ease, clarity over comfort, truth over approval. Think of emotional immunity like a muscle. It strengthens through repetition, through standing firm when it's easier to bend, through choosing discomfort in the short term for self-respect in the long term. Journaling helps. So does therapy. So does saying the hard things out loud, even if your voice shakes. Surround yourself with people who respect your boundaries. Let go of those who punish you for having them. When the manipulator is close. Now, the hardest part. What if the manipulator isn't a stranger? What if they're someone you love? A parent, a partner, a friend, a boss. Someone who, at some point, gave you love, protection, opportunity. This is where emotional clarity meets heartbreak, because manipulation from someone close hurts differently. It feels like betrayal. It makes you question your memories, your loyalty, your worth. Meet Tasha. Her mother constantly reminds her, "I sacrificed everything for you." Every choice Tasha makes that doesn't align with her mother's expectations is labeled selfish. Even pursuing her dreams feels like betrayal. Tasha begins to shrink. She questions herself. She hesitates before sharing good news. Her joy is diluted by guilt, but proximity doesn't excuse control. Love doesn't justify coercion, and gratitude should never be a leash. In these cases, boundaries are not just tools. They are lifelines. You must learn to say no without guilt, to speak your truth without apology, to honor your feelings even when they are inconvenient to others. This process is delicate. It doesn't always mean cutting people off. Sometimes it means re-educating them. Other times it means redefining the relationship. And in some cases, yes, it means walking away. Start with clarity. Write down what you want, what you value, what you're no longer willing to tolerate. Use this as your compass. Then communicate. Not to argue, but to declare, "I love you, but I can't continue this pattern. I'm choosing a different path, and I hope you'll understand." These words might create distance, but they also create space for growth, for truth, for real connection. And remember, you're not abandoning anyone by choosing yourself. You're honoring the only life you've been given. From puppet to strategist. You don't have to stay in the role of the puppet. You can become the strategist. This doesn't mean becoming manipulative. It means becoming conscious. It means understanding the emotional mechanics of human behavior, not to exploit, but to protect, to navigate, to lead yourself with awareness. It means choosing your script, writing your own story, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Because the world is full of people who will write your story for you, if you let them. They'll tell you who you are, what you owe, what to fear, what to hide. But your life isn't a theater, it's a sovereign act. And freedom, real freedom, isn't just about doing what you want. It's about knowing why you want it. Being a strategist means planning your emotional responses. It means being proactive about your triggers, your values, your environment. It means no longer waiting to be saved, but choosing to rise. You begin to observe dynamics instead of getting caught in them. You recognize red flags sooner. You forgive yourself faster. You respond instead of react. And above all, you live aligned, not obligated. If you've made it this far, then you've already done something most people never do. You've stopped and looked. You've questioned the mechanics behind your own actions. That takes courage. But courage isn't the absence of fear. It's acting despite it. And the journey from puppet to strategist is filled with moments where fear whispers, "Go back. Go back to what's familiar. Go back to being liked. Go back to comfort." But you won't, because you've glimpsed something more valuable than approval. You've glimpsed autonomy. So where do we go from here? Step 1. Design a personal philosophy. Most people live by default, but the strategist lives by design. Ask yourself, what are the non-negotiable in my life? What are my core values? Not the ones I inherited, but the ones I choose. Write them down. Refine them. Let them guide your decisions, not other people's expectations. Let's say one of your values is self-respect. That means when someone disrespects you repeatedly, the question isn't, how do I make them like me? The question is, how do I return to my value? Step 2. Practice discernment. Not every opportunity is for you. Not every relationship deserves access. Not every apology should be accepted. Discernment is about separating truth from manipulation, sincerity from performance. Ask yourself, Do their actions match their words? Does this relationship energize or deplete me? Am I growing or shrinking around this person? Make discernment a daily habit, and you'll find your clarity increasing and your peace deepening. Step 3. Build a circle of integrity. You don't have to do this alone. In fact, you shouldn't. Find people who reflect the values you're committed to. People who speak truth, even when it's hard. People who uplift without control. People who cheer for your boundaries instead of punishing them. And be that person for others. Because manipulation thrives in silence, in secrecy, in isolation. But integrity thrives in connection, in vulnerability, in mutual respect. Step 4. Revisit and reflect. The strategist is never finished. They are always evolving. Revisit your journal. Reevaluate your boundaries. Reflect on your growth. Celebrate the moments you chose yourself. And when you slip, and you will, don't shame yourself. Simply return. Awareness isn't about perfection. It's about persistence. Imagine two people. One keeps living on autopilot. They make others happy. They avoid conflict. They are praised, liked, tolerated. But something is always missing. A voice that says, "This isn't me." The other decides to change. They start small. A no here, a pause there, a truth spoken gently. They lose people. They feel doubt. But slowly, they feel something stronger, alignment. You get to choose which road you walk, not once, every day. You sit down with someone who has controlled you. Maybe they don't realize it. Maybe they do. But today, you are different. You say, calmly and clearly, "I care about you, but I care about me too. And I'm no longer willing to abandon myself to maintain this connection." There may be silence. There may be anger. There may be tears. But there will also be a shift. Maybe not in them, but in you. You spoke your truth, and once spoken, it echoes in your life. Final step. Becoming the watcher. The philosopher Epictetus once said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." You cannot control others. You cannot erase your past, but you can control your awareness. You can cultivate your perception. You can become the watcher of your mind, the observer who sees without judgment, who intervenes with wisdom. This is the ultimate freedom. To not be ruled by others, to not be ruled by your impulses, to not be ruled by fear, to be ruled only by clarity. And clarity doesn't scream. It whispers quietly, firmly, like a compass pointing home. Thank you for walking this path with me. This wasn't entertainment. It was a call, a quiet rebellion against the invisible forces that shape our lives. If this resonated with you, don't just listen, act. Start a journal. Set one new boundary. Speak one uncomfortable truth. And never forget, the moment you choose awareness over comfort is the moment you begin to live freely. Not manipulated, not performed, but consciously. You've taken the first step. Thank you for watching. If this message spoke to you, consider subscribing to the channel. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. And remember, the world changes when you do. See you in the next video.